Alright, I kind of suck when it comes to cooking Japanese food at home, so in this video I'm going to show you a few Japanese recipes as I cook them for the first time. From there, we'll learn something about the ingredients and the technique and apply what we learned to some home-cooked food. The goal is to become a little more comfortable with the ingredients so that cooking Japanese food at home becomes a little less intimidating for both of us and maybe finds its way into the repertoire. Let's start with a Japanese-inspired pan-seared steak that gets topped with some soy sauce and mirin-flavored onions. The sauce is made by simmering mirin, soy sauce, and rice wine vinegar with some sliced onions. Here are the important takeaways. Simmering the sauce allows the flavors of the soy sauce and mirin to round out nicely, while it reduces to a thicker consistency in part thanks to the sugar in the mirin. A dose more of rice wine vinegar is added near the end to brighten and balance the sauce. The result is a steak that gets topped with some delicious saucy onions that go well with the steak without overpowering it. Let's see how we can apply this to another meal. We start out with chicken thighs that get seared in a pan until the skin is golden brown. The chicken is on the bone, so finishing them in the oven makes sure that they cook all the way through. Once the chicken is fully cooked, it gets removed from the pan and set aside. Now it's time to build our sauce. Green onions form the base. Once those cook through and soften, we'll add mirin and soy sauce and allow them to simmer so the flavors mellow, and the sauce reduces. Once the sauce is reduced, add in some chicken stock and continue to cook it out. To finish the sauce, kill the heat and add in some rice wine vinegar. You don't want to cook this down too much more or the brightness from the vinegar will begin to fade. And finally, add in some butter to create a full pan sauce. We've taken what we've learned from cooking the steak and applied it to a standard pan sauce recipe. The result is an extremely delicious and satisfying dish with a well-rounded, full-bodied pan sauce that has a Japanese flavor profile. The second recipe is a mushroom wafu pasta. The sauce is built upon three main ingredients: dashi, mirin, and soy sauce. The mirin and soy sauce provide a familiar foundation, so let's look at what's going on with the other ingredients. I'm using dashi powder, which is a great ingredient to get started in a very low-fuss way. A mix of Japanese mushrooms gets simmered in the dashi-based sauce. Here, the dashi is imparting a lot of umami while giving the dish a mellow but pleasant seafood flavor that pairs well with the mushrooms. The pasta gets topped with togarashi, which adds even more umami and more hints of seafood thanks to the toasted nori. The final sauce gets spooned on top of the spaghetti, which initially struck me as weird, but after trying it, I'm actually going to say that the well-seasoned al dente noodles stand up extremely well on their own and make for good contrast against the intense sauce. It's also kind of reminiscent of serving a dish with a bowl of plain white rice. So to recap, the dashi is contributing umami and pleasantly mild seafood flavor, which is fortified by the togarashi. It's also the stock that forms the base of the sauce to make up our wafu pasta. So let's apply what we've learned and feature these ingredients in another pasta dish. Start by sweating some onions in olive oil and then adding some anchovies. Once they begin to break apart and cook down, throw in some garlic for a second and then add in some crushed tomato sauce, dashi, and soy sauce. Cook down the sauce for about 15 minutes and bring it together with some pasta to finish the dish. Throw on some togarashi as a necessary garnish. Let's quickly recap our use of dashi and togarashi and why this works. We've taken a classic anchovy red sauce and added dashi and soy sauce, which really boosts the natural umami of the dish. They also match the seafood flavor profile we're going for with the anchovies in the sauce. The togarashi takes that one step further by adding yet another umami/seafood component. This makes a great dinner or lunch and manages to pack a lot of flavor and punch into a pretty simple and quick meal. The recipes I started with came from this book. The Yoshoku chapter is a collection of Western dishes that have been adapted in a Japanese way, and it's a great resource to start learning how to cook Japanese food at home.